Welcome to the Militia Gaming Community. I'm Trigger, and today it's all about the 918 Spyder. Let's go! I'm giving away an Xbox Series X to one of my subs this holiday season. Click the giveaway video link in the description or in the top right of this video now to watch the video and enter the giveaway. Just being a sub will not automatically put you in the giveaway, you must officially enter. So go watch that video, enter, and then come back to this one. Good luck. Alright, I just got done testing this Spyder's engines. There are 6 different engines that you can choose from, and believe me, they were all really close. If you pick the wrong engine, I don't think you're going to be at a significant disadvantage, but there is one engine that stood out, and that was the 903 horsepower 3.8 liter V8 hybrid. Now this car is a hybrid car by default. That's the stock engine, comes with a hybrid engine, so it's really no surprise that the upgraded hybrid engine is the one that was the best, or that performed the best. So after running my tests on Arian, this engine performed the best. It was the fastest, it was the quickest, it felt the most nimble. It definitely was the engine that I'm going to be putting in the car going forward. So next, what we need to do is to test some of the other features. One of the things that I didn't really go over in my engine test was the downforce. Now, I maximized it because the back end of this car is extremely slippery, but I have a feeling that I could get a little bit more top speed if I drop the downforce down just a little bit. So right now it's maximum downforce for maximum traction, but if I dropped it maybe, let's say 2 points, I think I can still control the car pretty well, but I might gain an extra mile per hour or 2 on the top speed. And that's where this car really struggles. It actually does really well in the turns and it handles very nicely. But I think on the top speed, it really could be better. It should be a little bit more powerful, but it just doesn't feel like it has that oomph at the top, right? It gets to about 200 miles an hour and then it struggles to get to 220 and 230. So I feel like if I move that downforce down, maybe we can get the top speed up. So what I'm going to do first is actually run this car on Sonic, and I'm going to drop the downforce down too and just see how it feels. Alright, here we go. The Sonic test, and this is the first attempt. Hopefully I can hit these corners correctly. This car looks amazing, bro. This thing looks awesome. The freaking fire shooting out of the back? Get out of here. Wow, this is a crowded race. Can I get through, please? Alright, here we go. First turn. I'm kind of cold coming into this. Not great. I'll take it, though. We're going to run with it. See, look how much it struggles. 200, 215. It's just creeping up. Most cars hit 230 on that straight. But it turns so nicely. It's just so easy to control. It is really a pleasure to drive. You don't even have to prime the drift on that turn. Just so easy to control. I really love the way this car handles. But look, it just struggles on the straights, man. I guess if you had NOS refills and you're racing competitively, I think it's okay. Because you can actually hit the NOS and sort of make up for that top speed. But when you're just testing these engines, it just doesn't feel fast. It hits 180, 190, all of a sudden it just stops accelerating. Or at least it feels like that. Very weird. It's supposed to be a sports hypercar. Look at how easily it takes that turn. So nice. Alright, I'm not going to have any NOS for this straightaway. I've been using it in random places all throughout this race. Not really paying attention. God, I'm so impressed with the way this thing turns. Here we go. I should have 2 bottles here. Alright, NOS at 209 puts me at 227-ish. But finally I hit top speed. $248.27. I'm gonna write that down on my spreadsheet. I think we can definitely improve that just a little bit. That's definitely not its fastest run. It's also not that fast of a run either, 248. It really struggles in the top speed. I think it's very good for cornering. Oh my god, it looks so good. I love the fire out of the freaking trunk, basically. That mid-engine. Alright, so after running that with the downforce down 2, basically, sorry, not down 2, but I guess it would be up 3, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, up 3. So instead of maximum, just up 3. I feel like that actually is better for it. It's better for the car. It definitely struggles in the top speed, but it actually, with the downforce like this, it actually does better than it was when I was testing it on Arian. So I'm gonna have to recommend this. I like the downforce up 3 instead of maximum. Now, usually I maximize the downforce without losing too much top speed. I like to maximize the downforce because you want the most traction possible, so long as it doesn't hurt your ability to turn. So I'm gonna leave it here. I'm confident that this is the fastest build right here. You've got a top speed of 232, which is good. It's more than capable. It's just not. It just doesn't accelerate to top speed as fast as you need to. So let's go ahead and look at the full build so you guys know exactly what it is. Alright, so we've got that 3.8 liter V8 hybrid engine. Ultimate Plus parts as always with the Ultimate Dual Turbo and 5x3 NOS. Now, if you're building this car up and you don't have Ultimate Plus parts already, you don't have Ultimate parts, you are welcome to substitute whatever the highest tier parts you have for this. And as far as NOS goes, just pick the bottles where there's multiple bottles instead of the one big one. So that's what you want to do. If you don't have these Ultimate Plus parts, build it up that way, and then as you unlock the parts, just swap them out. As far as the build goes, on the chassis you got track suspension and elite brakes. Elite race tires. Race tires are important for this build because the car is already kind of slippery, but the race tires allow you to hit those corners really, really nicely, so I like that a lot. Elite Plus clutch, Elite 7-speed gearbox, and the track differential. And you can run whatever auxiliaries you like, but if you're going to run a NOS auxiliary, I'll go with the NOS duration over anything else. And let's take a look at the stats real quick so that you guys know. 1.93 0 to 60, 930 on the torque, which is okay. 232 top speed, again, not its best quality, and it could have 1232 potential horsepower, but in this build it's running 1200, and the difference being the turbo. You run a single turbo, you'll max that horsepower out. But I really strongly recommend the dual turbo. It performs better all around. Okay, well that's it for the track build. I think we already went over the live tuning, right? You've got minimum steering sensitivity and up 3 on the downforce, no traction, and drift style is gas. So that's it. That's the the quarter mile is 8.8. So it's an okay quarter mile. It's not terrible, but it's not great. So anyway, let's turn this thing into a drag car. Let's see if we can get this thing super sticky and super fast. All right, as I was testing these engines, I realized that the fastest 0 to 60 was actually the 542 horsepower 5.0 liter V8. That has the best 0 to 60. However, it doesn't have the best quarter mile. The quarter mile is 8.90, which is a tenth of a second slower than this current engine. So I think we're gonna stick with this engine. I considered swapping back to that 5.0, but we're gonna stick with this engine, and we're gonna see if we can't maximize the traction and get this thing moving fast on a quarter mile. So first I wanna swap to drag tires. And I'm gonna keep the suspension track, that's the stiffest one you've got. We're gonna swap the NOS out for the 1x15. And then we need to test the gearboxes to see which gearbox is gonna perform better in a quarter mile. So let's go ahead and make sure we have one of each. We do. Let's head outside the garage and take a look. All right, we currently have the 7-speed installed, and we've got an 8.77 quarter mile. We can increase that or decrease it, I guess, by dropping the downforce. So 8.73 quarter mile when the downforce is all the way down, which we will run if we're running a drag version of this car. So minimum steering sensitivity, not that important, but it's there. And then downforce all the way down, 873. Let's see what the 6-speed gearbox does. Let's drop in a 6. Let's go back. See if we can get a faster. Nope, absolutely the same. 8.73 quarter mile for the 6. And let's go to the 5 just in case. Alright, and the 5 is also 8.73. Alright, so since the 5, the 6, and the 7-speed gearbox all have the same quarter mile, for the sake of just being simple with all of our builds, we're going to keep the 7-speed gearbox in there. It's not going to make a difference in terms of the overall speed. All of them post the same quarter mile, and I think the 7-speed is actually a little bit better for the top end. It has a little bit more torque, so we're going to go with that. Alright, we're going to go ahead and make a pass on this very common drag area and just see how it feels. I'm curious. Ooh, it takes off nicely. But it gets to 170. No more NOS. 203. It just dies at the top. It just dies at the top end, man. I don't understand it, honestly. I don't know why this car just doesn't accelerate past 200. And when you get to 200, it just doesn't accelerate as fast as it does to get to 200. It has a really, really weak 7th gear. But here's the thing. If you're doing a drag on this part of the map, which is where the majority of people drag, if you do a drag here, you could definitely lose to a car that has better top speed. But you will, off the line, beat a lot of people. So if you're doing a traditional quarter mile, which is actually better inside the racetrack, just so everybody knows, the quarter mile is way better in here. So if you start at this line right here, you start here, if you look at the map and you go to about where this tunnel is, come on. If you go to this tunnel, it's 494 yards, which is almost a quarter mile. So this is a much better drag strip in terms of a quarter mile, which is a traditional drag strip. The other one outside the racetrack is much farther. It's very close to 3/4 of a mile. So on this one, let's see where it ends up at the end here. Here we go. 190 miles an hour by the time it hit the quarter mile. So it's going fast, but that's about where the car stops accelerating. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it seems like an average drag car. It's okay. Its quarter mile is not terrible. 873, we can check where that is on my drag list. 873 is actually the exact same quarter mile as the Subaru STI hatchback. So it's quick, but it's not that fast. It's definitely not competing for the title of Dragmaster, that's for sure. So anyway, let's look at the drag build. Let's complete this and we'll move on to the drift build. So again, we stuck with that 3.8 liter hybrid engine. We've got those ultimate parts, same ultimate dual turbo, but we did swap over to the 1x15 pound NOS. Track suspension, elite brakes, drag tires for traction, elite plus clutch, 7-speed gearbox, track differential, And then of course you can run whichever auxiliaries you like, but I really recommend NOS duration. So that's the track build. Let's get back to the garage and make this thing drift. Alright, so the 918 Spyder is actually an all-wheel drive car. You would think it's a rear-wheel drive because of Porsche's history with rear-wheel drive cars, but it's actually an all-wheel drive electric hybrid car. Now that being said, it's probably going to require an all-wheel drive drift setup. So we're going to start with my basic all-wheel drive drift setup, and then we'll make tweaks where we need to, if we need to. So to do that, we put on speed cross suspension, we put on showcase tires, and then for the final piece, the sport drift differential. You might be wondering, why am I picking the sport over the pro? Honestly, I don't know, but the sport performs better in drift setups. For some reason, for an all-wheel drive drift setup, I always put the sport instead of the pro. I don't know why, but it feels better. Let's go out and test this thing. But before we do that, we need smoke for the tires. Woo, with that blue smoke, baby. This looks nice. All right, hopefully this feels good. Let's go. First test. We got a cargo van in our way. Oh, it feels good, baby. Wow, this is nice. This is nice. I like it. Oh, there's a car in our way. Oh, it feels so good to drift that. Wow, the score was terrible. 32,000. It was enough to 3-star that, but it felt insanely good. Feels like my my Evo drift build. It just feels like you can spin the wheels forever. It's not enough points though. There's not enough points for this drift build. I don't know, there's something wrong here. It feels good, but there's something definitely wrong. Let's switch some things around here. Let's go back to the performance. Let's drop speed cross tires in there and see what happens. Should make it a little bit more slippery. Alright, let's make one more change here. I'm going back to the showcase. I think the showcase tires felt better. And let's just drop in the Pro Drift differential, just for the sake of trying it. No good. Alright, last build, and then we might end up going back to the original. I've got drag tires, speed cross suspension, and the drift differential. These drift tires feel a little bit better. The speed cross suspension, drift tires, and the drift differential. I'm going to go back to showcase, and we're going to see how this feels one last time. Because I think the showcase really offers a lot more control, but the drift tires give you a little bit more angle. I'm not really sure which way I want to go with this yet. The drift tires were slippy right there. Alright, that solves it. Not the showcase tires. Definitely the drift tires. Alright. I'm willing to call this my final build. So, here's the issue. The car feels really good to drift with this setup, but it doesn't score very high at all. It takes a lot of skill to try to score high. But as far as something that's controllable and fun to drift, this is a great setup for this car. I mean, you can really pull off a lot of different like drift clips, hit some really insane tight gaps, but you really need to know what you're doing. So here's my build for the drift setup on this 918 Spyder. So same engine and engine parts as before. We're gonna go with the speed cross suspension, drift tires, and the drift differential. But make sure it's the sport drift differential. The Pro doesn't feel as good. So the Sport Drift Differential. Everything else is the same as the track build. So the same brakes, same drivetrain, same gearbox. So anyway, I don't really know how I feel about this drift car. I feel like it does really well for style. You can definitely pull off some pretty cool clips with it, but it's really not anything special, right? It's not gonna score high. It's not gonna be a car that competes with like the Volvo or the RX-7. It gets the job done, I guess. You know, I think you could 3-star the drift sections on the map, but it does require a little bit of skill. So I don't know. It's sort of a take it or leave it type build. It's not something I would use the car for. But let's move on to the off-road. Maybe, just maybe, we have an off-road king here. I have no idea, but let's build it and let's see how it goes. Alright, so to turn this into an off-road build, we're going to swap 3 parts, and then we're going to play around with the downforce a little bit. So we're going to leave the engine alone. This is the engine setup that I'm going with. The suspension is one of those parts, so we're going to switch to the rally suspension. We're going to swap the tires as well as the differential. So tires, we're going to go with off-road tires. And then the differential, we swap over to a rally diff. And that's really all you need to make a track car into an off-road car. Those 3 parts, they change everything about the car. So let's take this out to HTV2 and Rumble and just see what kind of times we can get. Alright, here we go. We got the HTV2 test. First attempt. Let's get it. Oh, it takes off. Nice. I didn't even have to hit that 3rd NOS. Not gonna lie, it feels a little slow, which is kind of disappointing. I thought it would be better. Yeah, it feels really slow. Yikes. I thought for sure we'd see a little bit better off-road capabilities here. Alright, here we go. Final lap. Final 500 yards. Not great. Not great. I think it was a 154. 154.64. Really not that fast. It struggled through the corners. It just didn't want to pick up speed right after the corner, which is really weird. I thought it would do better than this because it actually corners pretty well on the street, so I kind of expected that to roll over into the dirt, but oh well. Let's go ahead and test it in Rumble so we can get our combined time and rank this baby. Alright, here we go, Rumble test. Oh my gosh, it struggled just trying to pass that Subaru on the straight. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that thing is not that fast, and all of the other cars pass it with no problem. It just doesn't have the capability on the straights. Look at this. I can't get it above 132. Alright, first lap in, it is not feeling good at all. We're looking at like a 317. Look at it, we're just barely passing these trucks. Just barely passing them. This might be the first car ever to not lap the entire field on Rumble. This is not good. Oh my god, it's the first car ever to not lap the field! How did that happen? That is insanely slow. 3:26.56. Maybe the slowest time I've ever put up off-road. Alright, just looking at my list, it's not the slowest time, but it's very close. The only car that's slower than this car on Rumble is the Raptor. Not good. Not good. Alright, let's take a look at the rank for each of those disciplines. You got track, drag, and off-road. Let's throw up the stats now, and then we'll finish this video up. Alright, so there you have it, the results for this 918 Spyder. Just to sum things up a little bit, this car looks amazing. I love the way this car looks. It drives okay on the track. It's not great. It's a really okay drag car as well. It's a pretty poor drift car in terms of scoring, but it does okay with style. You know, you could definitely hit some nice gaps with it. And then it is possibly the worst off-road car in the game. I mean, I haven't tested them all yet, but dang, it was bad. It was so bad. Anyway, I just think I want to compliment this car on its looks. I think that's where this car is the strongest, actually, is the way it looks. It is a stud of a car when it comes to what it looks like. I like that mid-engine, the exhaust coming out of the middle of the car or the back of the car like that. It just looks amazing, to be honest with you. It looks like a way more expensive car than it is, and so excellent job on the design of the car, but in terms of its overall performance, it's pretty weak. The track, it's okay. I'd say it probably competes with a lot of the middle of the pack cars. It's faster than a lot of cars, but it's definitely not something that I would take on longer tracks like Sonic or Aardvark, you know, those tracks that require a lot of top speed. It definitely does okay on some of the tighter, turnier courses, but yeah, it's just not my favorite. That being said, it actually corners really, really nicely. It feels really good to drive, so you could definitely fall in love with the way this car feels and use it for everything, really. It's just not a very great car. It's a good car, not a great car. So anyway, that's it. If you guys have any questions about this, hit me up in my DMs. I've got my Instagram and Twitter on the screen now, so hit me up. I'll read every single DM that comes my way, and I'll reply as soon as I can. So thank you so much. Shout out to all those Militia subs, and I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.